Welcome. I am Professor S.R. Chakni. Today we will discuss about the topic management of crop in a rain-fed area. Before studying the crop management in rain-fed area, we will discuss about some topic regarding the reasons for the low productivity in the rain-fed area. There are certain reasons or the factors which are responsible for obtaining the low production in the rain-fed area. These factors we will discuss one by one. In that, first factor is the lack of moisture conservation practices. In rain-fed area, already the moisture which is very less, and whatever the moisture which is available in rain-fed area, there is a not proper conservation of the moisture which is takes place. So this is one of the reason for obtaining the low productivity. Then low rate of fertilizer use. Then in rain-fed areas, the economic condition of the farmer is poor and the yield is also obtained very low. In that case, the fertilizer application is very less by the farmer. Then third factor, that is the lack of timely farm operation. There is the farm operation which are not carried out timely because the rainfall which is not received in time. There is no proper time for the receiving rainfall. Due to that, the farm operation is delayed. Then improper crop planning as per the land capability. That means the selection of crop is not proper according to the capability of land as well as the fertility status of the land. Due to that, improper selection of the crop which leads to the yield reduction in the rain-fed area. The next factor which are also responsible for the low productivity in rain-fed area, that is the inadequate efforts to increase the water resources. That means not proper efforts which are taken against increasing the water resources as well as the storage of the moisture by applying the various moisture conservation practices. Then next factor, that is the unpredictable rainfall situation. That means the rainfall prediction is not predicted in the rainfall situation or it is not received in time. Then the lack of improved technology. Then the cultivation of crop which is not taken under the improved use of the improved technology, and due to that lack of the improved technology, then there are again various reasons which are responsible for obtaining the low productivity in the rain-fed area. Then we will discuss about the different crop management practices. In that, first and most important crop management practice, that is the intercropping system. So firstly, what is meant by the intercropping? So the intercrop or the intercropping is defined as the growing of two or more crop in the same field with a specific row arrangement during the same season, that is known as the intercropping system. In this system, we are taking the two or more crop on the same piece of land, but these crops are sown in the definite row arrangement in a same time. That system is known as the intercropping. Then in areas where the annual rainfall is in the range of 600 to 850 millimeter, the intercropping is being recommended as well as the practice. That means the intercropping system which is followed or taken in the area where the rainfall which is received in the range of 600 to 850 millimeter, and in that area only the intercropping system which is recommended mostly as well as it is practiced. Then the different intercropping systems are followed in the different regions of the country based on the soil, rainfall, market price and the marketing facilities. Again, the intercropping systems which are carried out in the different regions of country which are also based on the certain factors, as mostly the intercropping which is depend on the type of soil, that soil should be suitable for taking the particular crop. Then the rainfall, the amount of the rainfall that is received, then the market price after obtaining the production or the yield, whatever the market price which is available to that crop, and again the different marketing facilities. These are the different factors which are responsible for deciding the intercropping system which will be taken or not in that particular area. Then intercropping systems are subject to change due to the change in market price of the component crop. Again, this can be changed according to the market price which is available to that crop as a in the market. Then intercropping is widely practiced in the dry farming since it offers many advantages as listed below. Again, the intercropping system is mostly adopted in the dry farming regions because there are certain advantages behind it. So we will discuss these advantages of the intercropping system in the dry farming area. As first advantage is intercropping is a risk management strategy and provides an insurance against the complete crop failure due to the rainfall abnormalities. So we know about the intercropping system. In intercropping system we are taking the number of crop, and due to that there is the minimum risk. If the one crop failure due to the some natural calamities, then the other crops gives income to the farmer. So that it is a risk management strategy, and it also provides an insurance against the complete crop failure due to the rainfall abnormalities. So this is the most important advantage of the intercropping system. Again, it provides the more yield and income per unit area per unit time than the sole cropping system. Then we are taking the number of crops so that we can obtain the maximum yield in a unit time and in a unit area as compared to the sole crop. That means only one crop is known as the sole crop. Instead of taking the sole crop, we can adopt the intercropping system, and due to that we can get a more yield or more income per unit area as well as the per unit time. Then the next advantage is the stability in production is achieved. So we can get the stable production or the fixed production due to the intercropping system. Then the next advantage is the multiple products for the home consumption as well as for marketing are made available. We are taking the number of crop or the different types of crop. Due to that we can get the number of crops for the home consumption. That means all the family requirement that can be fulfilled due to the intercropping system, as well as after the fulfilling of the home requirement, then the remaining production that can be sold into the market, which are also available from the intercropping system. Then when the legumes are included in the intercropping system, the soil fertility is enriched. That means if the legume crops or the pulse crops which are included in the intercropping system, due to that it adds the organic matter, and due to that the fertility status of the soil is get increased. Then the intercrop canopy suppresses the weed growth. Then if we are undertaken the intercropping system, in that we are including the different types of the pulse crop or the legume crop, at that time the canopy of the crop is more as compared to the cereal crop, and most of the soil or the surface of soil that can be covered by this intercrop or the pulse crop, and due to that it helps to suppresses the weed growth as well as the intensity of weed is also reduced. Then one crop provide the physical support to the other crop. That means we are growing the different types of crop. For example, we are growing the cereal plus pulse intercropping system. In that case the pulse crop required the support, and that can be provided by the cereal crop. So the one crop that can provide the physical support to the other crop. That means both the crops which are helpful to the each other or useful each other, that is known as the supplementary or the complementary effect of the crop. So these are the different advantages of the intercropping system. Then next crop management practice, that is the mulching. So we all know about the mulching. Then what is the mulching? So mulching, which is the application of the any substances, whether it is organic or the inorganic, in on the surface of soil to reduces the soil loss. Then it maintains the temperature, it reduces the evaporation, again it reduces the weed intensity, that is known as the mulching. Then mulching of soil with the available plant residue, that reduces the soil loss considerably by protecting the soil from the direct impact of the raindrop and reducing the sediment carried with a runoff. This is also one of the important advantage of the mulching, that mulching helps to reduces the soil loss, and it also helps to protect the soil from the direct impact of the rainfall, and it also reduces the whatever the sediments or the soil that can be carried with the runoff water, that can be minimized. Then a minimum plant residue cover of 30% which is necessary to keep the runoff and soil loss within the acceptable limit. That means if the plant residue cover of 30% which is applied on the surface of soil and it help to keep the runoff as well as the soil loss within the acceptable limit, then the vertical mulching also reduces the soil loss, particularly in vertisols, by increasing the infiltration also. Again, the vertical mulching in case of the vertisol that helps to increases the infiltration rate of soil, that means the entry of water, that is entry of water into the soil, that can be increased due to the application of the different types of the mulches on the surface of the soil. Then next crop management practice, that is the deep tillage, that means the whatever the cultural practices, whatever the cultural practices we are carried out on the surface of soil, they can be done at a more depth. Then the deep tillage of 25 to 30 centimeter is beneficial for the deep heavy clay soil to improve the permeability as well as to close the crack which are formed while the drying. Then the deep tillage practices up to the 25 to 30 centimeter, which is very beneficial in case of the black soil or the clay soil, as the permeability of the soil which is increases, as it also helps to close the cracks which are formed when the soil is dry. Then in soil with the hard pan, deep tillage once in a 2 to 3 years with a chisel plow up to 35 to 45 centimeter depth at 60 to 120 centimeter interval will increases the effective depth for the rooting as well as the moisture storage of the soil. As the deep tillage practices which can be carried out at least once in 2 to 3 years, and whatever the plowing which is carried out, which can be carried out with the help of the chisel plow up to the depth of 35 to 45 centimeter depth, that will also help to increases the depth of rooting depth of the crops, as well as it helps to store the moisture in the soil. So the deep tillage practices which plays the important role in the conservation of the moisture as well as the rooting activities of the crop. Then deep tillage is preferably done for the cotton, red gram and the other deep rooted crop. That means those crops which having the deep root system, in that case the deep tillage practices can be carried out in that soil. It is not be recommended for the shallow, gravelly and the light texture soil. So the deep tillage practices which are recommended only in case of the clay soil or the black soil, they are not recommended for the shallow soil, that means those soil which having the shallow depth. Then the gravel soil as well as those soils which having the light texture, in that case the deep tillage practices which are not recommended. It is mostly useful in the clay soil or the black soil. Then next crop management practice, that is the alternate land use system. So what is the alternate land use system? A pattern of land use that is different from the existing or the conventional can be described as an alternate land use system. That means the pattern of land use that is different from the conventional or the traditional cropping system, which are known as the alternative land use system. The term alternate land use, which is applicable to all classes of the land to generate the assured income with a minimum risk through the efficient use of the available resources. So what is the aim behind the use of the alternate land use system? That is mostly this alternate land use system which is applicable or useful to all the classes of land, and that is used to generate the assure or the fixed income by using the minimum risk through the efficient use of all the available resources. That means all the available resources that can be used efficiently to obtain the assure income with the minimum risk, that is known as the alternate land use system. Then this alternate land use system which having the certain number of the advantages, as first advantage is optimizing the resource use by enhancing the biological productivity as well as the profitability. That means whatever the resources which are available on the farm, that can be optimized by increasing the biological productivity as well as the profitability of the crops also. Then the conserving and enhancing the quality of the resource base by using the or by adopting the alternate land use system, the conservation as well as the increasing the quality of the resource base, that is also increases. Then integrating crops and livestock, that means the crops as well as the livestock, these are integrated together, means both the activities which are taken together, as it also helps to increases the income of that farmer. Then making agriculture less dependent on farm on off farm input, that means we are making the agriculture which are less dependent on the chemicals, that means the off farm input, means we are using the maximum number of inputs which are available on the farm, so that we are making the agriculture less dependent on the on farm input. Then next advantage, that is the generating the employment potential, that means under the alternate land use system, the different enterprises we are integrating together. Due to that, most of the days the employment that are generated on the farm to the year to the farmer throughout the year, that means we are generating the employment potential or increases the employment potential by the use of this alternate land use system. Then the next crop management practice, that is the some strategies which are used for the drought management, how the drought can be managed in the rain-fed area. In that, first one, adjusting the plant population. First and most important strategy which are used to management of the drought, that is we are adjusting the plant population. So the plant population should be lesser in dry land condition than the under irrigated condition. That means we are managing the plant population in such a way that the plant population or the number of plants in a area that should be less than the crops or the plant population under the irrigated condition. Then the rectangular type of the planting pattern should always be followed under the dry land condition. Then under dry land condition, whenever moisture stress occur due to the prolonged dry spell, the under limited moisture supply. Then if the moisture stress condition that can be prolonged due to the dry spell as well as the limited moisture supply, in that condition we can adopt the rectangular type of the planting pattern as well as reducing the plant population. Due to that, the water loss through the plant that can be minimized and the maximum water that can be efficiently used by the available plant that is present in that area. So the adjustment in the plant population that plays the very important role in the rain-fed area for obtaining the stable production. Then second one, that is the mid-season correction for the drought management. Then what is meant by the mid-season correction? So mid-season correction is the contingent management practices which are done in the standing crop to overcome the unfavorable soil moisture conditions due to the prolonged dry spells are known as the mid-season correction. Then whatever the contingent crop management practices which are carried out in the standing crop to overcome the problem which are arises due to the soil moisture condition due to there is the prolonged dry spell, and that is known as the mid-season correction. So this mid-season correction also plays the very important role in the management of crop under the dry land condition. Again, the next and most important practice which are also helpful for the drought management is mulching, as we have already discussed in this lecture. So the mulching is the practice of spreading the any covering material on the soil surface to reduces the evaporation losses. Then the main aim of application of the mulches on the surface of soil, that is to reduces the evaporation. Then mulches will prolong the moisture availability in the soil and save the crop during the drought condition. Again, the important role of mulches, that is it helps to save the moisture in the soil, and in that condition the crop can be managed or saved in the dry land condition. Then next one, that is the weed control. Mostly the weed competes with the crop for different growth resources are seriously under the dry land condition. That means the weed and crop competition under the different growth stages of the crop is more, and due to that maximum or the more inputs which are extracted by the weeds as compared to the crop. Due to that, the timely control of the weed, which is essential in obtaining the yield as well as reducing the competition between the crop and weed for the different inputs. Then the water requirement of most of the weeds is more than the sole crop. Then the water requirement of most of the weeds which is more than the crop plant, that means the requirement more water which is needed for the plant growth and development in case of the weed as compared to the crop, hence they compete more for the soil moisture. Therefore, the weed control, especially during the early stages of the crop growth, reduces the impact of dry spell by the soil moisture conservation. So there is the timely control of the weed which is essential during the early stages of the crop growth to reduces the impact of dry spell by the different soil moisture conservation. Then the next crop management practices, that is the water harvesting and the life saving irrigation. Then what is the water harvesting and as well as the life saving irrigation? So it is the collection of runoff water during the peak periods of rainfall and storing in a different structure, that is known as the water harvesting. So in simple way, water harvesting, that is the collection of the excess water after the receiving of the rainfall, and that collected water which is stored in the certain structure for future use, that is known as the water harvesting. Then the store water can be used for giving the life saving irrigation during the prolonged dry spell, that is known as the life saving irrigation. Whatever water that is collected from the runoff water after the rainfall and that can be used for giving the life saving irrigation during the prolonged dry spell, and mostly this save water that can be utilized during the dry spell period, and that irrigation is known as the life saving irrigation. So this is about the water harvesting and the life saving irrigation. And again, the next crop management practice, that is the contour cultivation, or it is also known as the contour farming. So what is the contour cultivation or the contour farming? A line joining the points of equal elevation, that is known as the contour. So the definition of contour, that is the line which joins the points of the equal elevation, that is known as the contour. Then all the cultural practices such as plowing, sowing, intercultivation that can be done across the slope to reduces the soil and the water loss. That means whatever the cultural practices we are carried out in that farming, for example plowing, then sowing, intercultural operations, there's all the operations which are carried out across the slope of land in order to reduces the soil as well as the water loss. Then by plowing and the sowing across the slope, each ridge of the plow furrow and each row of the crop which act as a obstruction to the runoff and provide the more time for the water that enter into the soil, that leads to the reduction in soil as well as the water loss. That means whatever the cultural practices which are carried out across the slope of land and that act as a obstacles to the runoff water as well as it provides the more time for the infiltration of water into the soil, and that leads to the reduced soil erosion as well as the water loss also. So the contour cultivation in dryland farming, it also plays the very important role in the soil moisture conservation as well as reducing the soil erosion also. Then the next practice, that is the strip cropping. So what is the strip cropping? So strip cropping is the system of growing a few rows of the erosion resisting crop and erosion permitting crop in an alternate strip on the contour with the objective of breaking a long slope to prevent the soil loss as well as the runoff loss. So in this system, as strip cropping, it consists of the growing of different rows of the erosion resisting crop as well as the erosion permitting crop. These are shown in the alternate strip on the contour line, and the objective of the strip cropping is the breaking of the long slope as well as to prevent the soil loss as well as the runoff loss. Then the close growing erosion resisting crop that reduces the transporting as well as the eroding power of water by obstructing the runoff as well as the filtering the sediment from the runoff to retain in the field. So the strip cropping also plays the very important role in preventing the soil loss as well as the runoff loss. Then next one, that is the contingency cropping. Then contingency cropping is the growing of suitable crop in place of the normally sown highly profitable crop of the region due to the aberrant weather conditions. So in short, the contingent cropping, that means the growing of the second crop if the major crop fails due to the aberrant weather conditions, for example drought or the flood. In that condition we are growing the high profitable crop of region, that is known as the contingency crop planning. In dryland agriculture, the contingency of growing another crop in place of the normally grown crop arises due to the delay in onset of the monsoon. That means the contingency cropping is mostly adopted when there is the delay in onset of monsoon. In that case we are growing the another crop in place of the normally grown crop, that is known as the contingency crop planning or the contingency cropping. Contingency cropping is highly location specific due to the variation in amount and the distribution of the rainfall also. That is, it is different from location to location due to the amount as well as the distribution of the rainfall also. Then especially in arid region, the spatial distribution of rainfall is highly variable. That means in arid region the spatial distribution of rainfall, that is variable. That means in different regions of area there is no equal distribution of rainfall is there, the variability of rainfall is more. Then in this chart here, the contingency crop plan which is given for the different abnormalities as first one, the delay in onset of rainfall. In that, the delay of monsoon which is exceeds 4 weeks. In that condition, the alternate crops or short duration crops can be sown. Then delay in southwest monsoon, if the normal rainfall which is occurred in June, then if delay of monsoon is there, it will occur in July, and again more delay of onset of monsoon, that will be occur in August, and in that case the different crops which are suggested as the groundnut, ragi, pearl millet and the cowpea. Delay in northeast monsoon, that is normally occur in October. Then again delay of onset in monsoon of northeast, that is observed in the early November to late November. In that case the different crops which are suggested as the contingency crop as sorghum or the cotton, that is suggested in for the normal rainfall. Again if the delay in monsoon, for that purpose the contingency crop plan which is suggested as the sunflower, pearl millet, ragi, coriander as well as the Bengal grape, these crops which are suggested. So here are some different contingency crop plan which is given for the different abnormalities. Then second one, delay of 1 to 2 weeks. If the monsoon which is delay up to 1 to 2 weeks only, in that first one, the early withdrawal of the monsoon, in that condition the anti-transparent spray, then harvesting of the harvesting for fodder, harvesting at a physiological maturity. If the withdrawal of monsoon which is early, in that condition the contingency crop management which are suggested as the spraying of the anti-transparent, then harvesting of crops for the fodder purpose, again the harvesting crop at a physiological maturity stage which is suggested. Then third one, that is the intermediary dry spell. If the immediately after sowing, the dry spell which is observed immediately after the sowing, in that condition the gap filling with the subsequent rain if stands reduction in less than 20%, then resowing if stand reduction is more than 20%. Then the application of mulches between the crop row, then steering the soil surface to create the dust mulch to reduces the evaporation. These are the different crop management practices which are suggested in case of the immediately after sowing of the dry spell. The first, gap filling, that can be done with the subsequent rain. And again, if the stand population is less than the normal, in that condition sowing, if the plant population is less than 20% of the normal, in that condition the gap filling which is suggested. And the stand population is more than 20% less, in that condition the resowing of the crop which is suggested. Then the application of mulches between the crop row which is suggested in order to reduces the evaporation. Then if the dry spell which is occurred at a vegetative stage, then mulching, anti-transparent spray, then spraying of the potassium chloride, then thinning of the 33 to 50% population, that can be suggested. Then the dry spell which is observed at a flowering stage, in that condition the contingency crop management practices which are suggested as the spraying of the anti-transparent, then harvesting of crop for the fodder, and returning with the subsequent rain in the millet, for example in the sorghum crop, which is suggested as a crop management practice. And if the dry spell which is observed at a ripening stage, then the anti-transparent spray, then harvesting for fodder, harvesting at physiological maturity stage, which are suggested. So there are some crop management practices which are suggested in case of the early withdrawal as well as the late onset of monsoon, or late onset of monsoon in the rain-fed area, which is suggested. Then next one, that is the cropping pattern. So what is cropping pattern? It is the yearly sequence and the spatial arrangement of crops on a given area, that is known as the cropping pattern. Or it means the proportion of area under the various crops are at a point of time in a unit area, that is known as the cropping pattern. This means that the type and arrangement of crops in the space as well as the time dimension. So this is also one of the important practice which are suggested in the crop management of a rain-fed area. Thank you.